Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, today I got a fun and interesting video for you guys today because we're going to be talking about Valve's new Steam machine, or the fact that there's been basically no new information after Valve rolled out a massive launch announcement for all the new hardware they had coming. And honestly, I feel bad for Valve on this one. If you're trying to launch a new quote-unquote console that is a mini PC into home markets, you basically chose the absolute worst time to do something like that based upon the RAM shortages and pricing, as well as other components being almost near to unavailable. And even though it's one of those things, Valve didn't anticipate this, I am sure it's absolutely just destroying a lot of their plans in the background. And I've been seeing some articles on it recently. I've been getting a lot of questions, so I figured it would be a fun time to talk about it again. Because I, for one, am excited about something like the actual Steam machine, and I absolutely love my Steam Deck. And in the ROG Ally review, I said the Steam Deck is still the unequivocal market leader when it just comes to ease of use and price. But unfortunately, you can't even buy one of those right now. We'll get into that in just a bit. Before I get too far involved, though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But last time we really heard about anything Steam machine related on the pricing or even launch date, it was the fact that Valve was stating that it is not going to be a subsidized machine. Basically what that means is if you buy a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, or any other console, a lot of times they are actually either breaking even on that hardware or even losing money, because the entire goal is to make up all that revenue in game sales and licensing. And that is something on the PC side of things you just don't have whatsoever, because even though you might buy games from Valve on Steam for a Steam machine, you could also just never do that, which means that they have to get a taste of profit the first time they sell the thing. And honestly, it was this article right here that kind of irritated me enough to want to address this again in a video as to what's going on with the Steam machine, because it says it might be DOA and why that's a good thing. And honestly, why the hell would it be a good thing if an entire new product category from a respective manufacturer as well as online platform host failed when it got to the market? Because right now the shortage is such a big issue, you can't go on to Steam and actually buy a Steam Deck. It doesn't matter what model you want. There even is a note at the bottom that it might be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and storage shortages. That is what's going to happen with the Steam machine 2 right now, and I am sure Valve is working diligently in the background to try to source hardware to even make these things, let alone at a cost that they can actually believe that a consumer would pay for. Because to say RAM pricing is absolutely batshit crazy right now would be an understatement, and storage is basically going along for the ride as well. And it's one of those things, a lot of these parts, the motherboards, the cases, stuff like that, those are basically fixed cost. You get a contract, you get a deal, and it really isn't that big of an issue. Even stuff like the actual APUs in here, you're not really going to have to worry too much about the pricing on those, because that has remained relatively stable throughout time. When you actually get down to the RAM, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 and 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 for the VRAM, you run into an absolute world of hurt. Because if you go on something like Micro Center right now, and I totally get it, Valve is not paying Micro Center pricing, 16 gigabytes of RAM is $225. That is absolutely a metric fortune, and this is why it's going to be a problem in the future for anybody to try to launch any sort of hardware until these shortages and price gouging basically end. Because right now, if I needed to rebuild my PC and replace my RAM, I would be talking about $700 just to get the 64 gigabytes of RAM I use at my main editing rig. That is absolutely just blowing the price out of the water, and unfortunately it's all down to AI, and we'll get into that in just a bit as well. But this puts Valve in an incredibly difficult position because they want to get something like the Steam machine into customers' hands, and they want it to be affordable enough that people would actually make the leap and want to purchase it, and now that definitely is going to be problematic for Valve. I'm not saying that this is going to be something that stops the Steam machine whatsoever, and I'm not saying that Valve can't make some deals with different manufacturers in the background, because a lot of times when you're actually buying in volume, you can start getting discount upon discount and really working with the vendors. But if all these different AI companies keep taking all of these components and buying them all at once, there is no reason for any manufacturer of RAM or storage to even do a deal with Valve, because where Valve might need 100,000 of something, some AI development company out there might want to buy 10 million of the exact same thing. And this isn't just a Valve or Steam machine problem, it is a problem across the entirety of gaming and computing in general. Because I have my editing rig, I built it by hand, and God forbid it fell over, broke, or stopped turning on, and I had to actually go out and buy a PC or even build one. I'd be talking about probably $6,000 to $7,000 to get the parts to put this thing back together that cost like $3,500 3 years ago. And now we're even seeing on the storage side of things, Crucial is becoming a completely business-focused manufacturer, and now SSDs are going to become hard to find and expensive. And that kit of RAM I showed you that was in my system, you wouldn't even be able to buy that soon because Crucial is no longer going to be selling to actual customers. So that is why you probably have Valve being very quiet about their plans for Steam Machine right now, because they are probably still refactoring it in the background, trying to figure out exactly where they can get these components, if they can even get enough of them, and how much it's going to cost them, and how much they have to sell it for to actually make it be a profitable endeavor. And it's one of those things, the fact that you can't even get a Steam Deck right now from Valve shows just how constrained the supply is, and it might be a thing. Maybe Valve can get the parts to build Steam Decks, but maybe they can't get them at the pricing that actually makes Steam Deck an affordable proposition for people. And this is something that's going to be definitely plaguing the industry for the next couple of years at least, because AI is clearly all the rage, at least for businesses. Everyone is tripping over themselves to basically spend as much money as possible on it, and the entire stock market bubble on AI, I swear, is basically about ready to burst every single day. And before you say that in the comments down below that I am biased, I will tell you right now, as far as for creative purposes, using AI as a generative function to be able to produce art, to be able to produce assets for retail games, to put people out of work because suddenly you can press a couple buttons and get some crappy work out the back end, you're absolutely right. I am 100% against it. I have never used it in my channel. I will never use it in my actual business practices or my artistic practices. Art is art, and AI is just basically masquerading as something in the background. But as far as other uses for AI, trying to figure out how to make new drugs or make the world a better place, I totally get it has its purpose, and I'm not saying that the entirety of AI is a bad thing. I'm just saying artistically it absolutely is, and it really is going to put some very big strain on the overall consumer market moving forward, because don't forget, it's not just Steam Decks and Steam machines that have RAM in them. Basically any sort of electronic you have right now has RAM. Hell, your toaster might have it for all I know. And it is one of those things, I just don't see any end to this, because if Crucial, owned by Micron, decides that it's no longer a viable business product to be able to sell RAM and storage to end consumers, that means that they're just going to continue to go over to the AI market and sell entire manufacturing runs to them, and then have all their profit realized basically day one. Because all of the different hard drive manufacturers are having this issue as well. SSD prices are going up and up and up, and right now some manufacturers are even saying that the entirety of their actual moving platter hard drives, the stuff we used 20-25 years ago on the regular, they are sold out of all their manufacturing capabilities for the entirety of 2026. So I think we're in for an even bigger world of hurt here, where if you need to go buy a new SSD or even a splitting platter hard drive for your computer, you are going to be paying out the nose for that in the future, because all of these AI data centers are buying up parts in the millions upon millions. They're just going to companies and saying, I will take every single thing you can manufacture for the rest of the year, here's your money, here's the contract, and then basically you don't have to worry about going into stores, you don't have to make deals with distributors, you just put things on a truck, collect your bags of money, and ship them to the next AI data center. And I always imagine that this is just going to be something that Valve is going to have to deal with. And again, timing is one of those things. You can't predict the future. You can kind of try to, and you'll find out. For every single time you write about something, the next time you're going to be dead wrong. I'm sure Valve has accountants and different researchers on their teams basically saying that you have this problem that could happen, but I don't think anyone saw this happening that badly. And again, it's one of those things. If different AI data centers buy absolutely every component a manufacturer can make, what the hell is Valve or anybody else going to do about this? So I'm pretty sure that's why we really haven't heard much about the Steam Machine after the announcement in a couple different articles. I'm sure people at Valve are sitting around in rooms every single day thinking to themselves and talking, how are we going to get this machine into customers' hands at a price point that they could actually justify purchasing? Because nobody, and myself included, is going to go out and pay $1,500-$1,600 for a Steam machine that you could build a PC for that would be faster at the same price. Yes, I love my Steam Deck. Yes, I love Valve OS. I think it does an incredible job, but there is a tipping point in the pricing structure in which basically no one's actually going to be interested in buying one of these. and I'm sure Valve had plans to release this at a very appealing price so that a lot of people would be early adopters. They would get a great installation base. But Valve hit two very big roadblocks right now: the pricing of DDR5 memory as well as the pricing of storage, and the fact that we're not even 100% sure can Valve get enough of the parts to make enough Steam machines to go around. Because you know full well Valve would love to sell you more Steam Decks, but they're out of stock on everything, and I'm pretty sure that's because they just can't get the parts. But that's the video, a little bit of a bummer. I think we're in for some more hurt as 2026 goes into 2027. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.